So I'm here with Brad Cartier. Today it's September 3rd, 2020, a beautiful sunny warm day, one of the last few that we have. Brad's kids are going back to school next week, and there'll be some kind of new normal established, I hope, for Canada and Canadians, for you, Brad, and your family. What we're going to talk about, at least to start with, is what is Brad's business model? And for people who know what I teach and what I mentor and coach on, business models are really important. And most people don't think about real estate as having any kind of a business model. It's just, oh yeah, I bought a rental and I rented it to a nice couple. That certainly is one form of real estate, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I've been coaching with Brad for a while now, and I get a lot of respect for what you do, Brad. And the more I look at the emails and the agenda and the full scope of what we've done together so far, the more I realize I think you're trying to establish a diversified real estate company rather than something that focuses on, industrial space. I'm going to build industrial condos, or I'm going to build multi-res, or I'm going to invest in multi-res, or I'm going to do one of 100 other models. I don't think that's where you're going. I think it's going to be more of a diversified, portfolio approach.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think there's quite a bit of opportunities that I'm currently looking at that don't really fit into one particular niche. And that could cause focus issues, which is what you and I are working on. But I think I'm pretty capable of handling a couple different projects at the same time. So I think we'll probably get into that.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. So I'm just going to share my screen because you sent me this earlier and I added something to it. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
So Brad's Diversified Real Estate Company, right now you have 12 current, I think those are all residential rentals, right?
Yes.
When you write down what they are, you should identify, because a rental could, of course, be commercial, could be industrial, could be a million and one things. And you've got 16 more under construction. Those would also be residential.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to update it. More residential. You can see my typing is excellent. And 12 more under rezoning in Rockland, right? Is that the Gigaplex Duo?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to put that in here. We're going to talk about that a little later. Gigaplex Duo. I'll send you this after we finish. You've got a cottage in Calabogie.
Yes.
You're managing, if I remember?
Yes.
And you do own any part of it, or are you just managing it?
Just managing it at the moment and getting that consulting fee that we spoke about.
Yeah, I remember that.
But they do want to do a third shares to me in 6 months, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, okay, maybe a 1/3 ownership. Okay. So currently under management, right?
Yes.
I remember those guys were not particularly good at managing this. Angel investing, is that in technology? Is it in real estate?
Technology startups.
Okay. And you're also helping me with the Belleville project. So you really are an angel investor in real estate too.
Yeah, and local businesses as well. I've invested.
Okay, real estate and local biz. All right. Okay. Marketing, consulting, and writing. Yeah. What are you doing for Oreo?
I'm a volunteer on the executive board there.
You're a volunteer board member?
Yeah.
Okay. You're interested in, that's the Hammond Golf Course?
Yep.
So you're interested in helping out. That's a 10-acre site, I think.
Yeah.
You're helping me with the Belleville project, which is not the first, but probably be the third of the Samuel, the mixed use stuff. You might do some more gigaplexes. We're going to talk about the Blair walk model. I have to be careful not to call it the Blair Witch model. Do you remember that film?
I do. I do.
Yeah. You like the mini contractor yards business?
Yes.
I like that too, by the way. You like the self-storage industry? Me too. Marketing advisor, daily newsletter. That's a lot of work. And I added this one because you did say you were interested in it, and you did send me an article today about how many, maybe 25% of hotels or motels in the US are going into foreclosure. And so what, excuse me, what Brad and I have been talking about is maybe buying hotels and repurposing them for, studio apartments or micro suites, whatever, for the long-term rental market and the medium-term rental, not to become a hotel operator though, right?
Right.
To me, that would be just ridiculous. Way too much room. And I wrote back to you, yep, I predicted this. I thought, this is an article that Brad sent me about how a quarter of U.S. hotels at risk of foreclosure. So when you look at that, that's a very broad palette. And I'm going to say Brad's Diversified Real Estate and other company, because there's more than just real estate in here. There's technology, angel investing, and all kinds of other things in here.
And some are more cash flow business, pay the bills type businesses, and others are more long-term wealth creation. Okay,
let's identify which is which. So I'm sure this one here, those would all be about, those would be about building wealth, right?
Correct.
What about the Calabogie cottage?
Wealth as well.
Okay. And angel investing?
That's wealth.
Okay. Oops. Okay. And marketing, consulting, and writing?
That's the cash flow, but that's a big buck. That occupies a big chunk of my time.
Yeah, I know that. So I just wanted to get that. I'm going to make that a different color. Oreo?
I guess that's the giving back bucket.
I'll give that a different color, gray. And Hammond, Samuel, Gigaplexes, Blair Walk, Minicom. So what about, let's take this out because it's like, which one is a duck and which one is a goat? So we'll take these out, okay? And what we'll do is we'll put it down here as another one. So is the marketing advisor and daily newsletter, is that, what color should that be?
Those should be separate, and marketing advisor would be wealth.
And I think I'm using, running out of colors here. I think that's this guy here. Okay. And the newsletter?
That would be blue. Yeah, same.
Okay, same as above. And the Hammond Golf Course, Samuel, Gigaplexes, Blair Walk, Mini Contract, Self-Storage, that would all be, I think, green.
Yes.
All right, I'll just go like that. All right, so I'll just put down here a building wealth. I'll send this to you, okay? So you'll have wealth, so you'll have it. So we don't have to do it. You don't have to do it twice. So we've got building wealth, we've got give back, and then we've got cash flow. Does that look right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cash flow was, I think the what color was that?
Blue.
It was the blue, yeah. Building wealth was the green, that makes sense, I guess. And the give back was gray. All right, so this is what you want to do, right?
Yes.
Now, let's see if we could figure out, Brad, if any of this does actually hang together. Okay. Because I'm okay with you having, I mean, it's not up to me. I mean, obviously, whatever you want to do, I'm here to support. But it does look like there's some fish in here and some fowl in here. So is there anything in here that you would take out? I have an easier question for you. Let's go through it and we'll put in 5 stars if this is absolutely a keeper. We'll put in 1 star where maybe it's a keeper, maybe it's not. All right, so you help me out here. How many stars here?
5.
Yeah, I would have given it 5 too, but I'm not allowed to tell you. Right?
Yeah, I think all the real estate is a 5 because there's an infrastructure.
I think so too, but again, it has to come from you rather than from me, because then it's not really. Now, what about the Calabogie cottage?
It's an experiment.
I know that. So maybe we don't give it 5 stars.
No. Let's give it 2.
Gosh, you and I think so. I was going to say 2. Angel investing, tech startups, real estate.
That doesn't occupy a lot of my time, and I actually get quite a bit of fulfillment out of it. So I would put a 5 on there.
Okay. All right. Marketing, consulting, and writing.
It's out of necessity, so I'd give it a 1. But I'd like to get to a point where those blue ones are.
No, that's fine. We're just going to give it a 1.
Okay.
Now, what about the Oreo thing?
I'd give it a 3.
Okay. And the next one here?
All of those?
Yeah.
I'd give them a 5.
Okay. And the next one, marketing advisor?
2.
Okay. And the daily newsletter?
5.
Okay. So I think that's pretty useful. At least I hope you think so too. All right. So you know what I'm going to say next. I mean, I'm just going to send you this right now, okay, so I don't forget.
Okay.
I'm just opening up my email here. I'm just going to call this email priorities. I spelled it right. Okay, so that's off to you in an email. And I'm just going to make sure, I mean, you know that 1 star, oops, oh, shoot. It won't let me do it.
Press Control Z.
Equals not too crucial. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 it equals crucial. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got that now. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, okay, so this is your company. You may give up some of these things over time as the things you're most passionate or that you figure are most crucial become bigger, and the other things kind of fade away. I would strongly encourage you to at least think about some kind of a transition in the next year or 2, because you do have 4 kids, a wife, and lots of responsibilities on every side, you know, all around you, and you're a person of great capability, but that's up to you. So one of the things, I think I mentioned it to you before, but I wanted to specifically deal with it today, if it's okay with you, is to build a great company, if that's what you're going to do, and I think that is what you plan to do, you're going to need a second in command, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Have you given that any more thought?
So I've worked in the past with virtual assistants in my marketing business, and it's been a game changer for me to sort of supercharge what I can do in a day, and takes away a lot of that, you know, it's the 80-20 rule, right?
Yep.
So I've started to think more about that, but I don't know if a virtual assistant works in the type of business I'm trying to build, because it requires a bit more of a high touch.
Yeah, it's like what my wife said to me, because I'm getting quite significant RSI in my arms from way too much keyboarding. She said, why don't you dictate? So here's what I do when I'm working on a given day. I manipulate pictures, videos, spreadsheets, Word documents, PowerPoints, and more. You cannot tell, I mean, you can dictate to Word, which is actually a very good, you know, dictation. So I could say, hey, you know, I'm going to dictate this Word document. I could do that. But when you want to do what we're doing right now, which is move around a document and put stuff, grab things from a PowerPoint, grab things from the internet, grab things from, you know, your pictures or your videos, insert stuff like that, go to spreadsheets. There's no way. So, you know, a virtual assistant can be very useful if you had a large database that you needed to transcribe to something else. that's a very good thing for a virtual assistant to do. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a true second in command. You know, to build a great real estate company, I think your second in command should be a civil engineer or somebody with a finance background.
Okay.
And I would try and find somebody, if you were going to do something like this, Brad, who was between 26 and 32 years of age. And the reason I would want somebody young as opposed to somebody who's 40 or 50 or 60 or my age, 68, is that I would want you to be able to train them in your way of doing things. If they come from another company, they'll say, well, we didn't do it like that over there. Well, who cares? I don't care about that. I want to do it my way. That's, I mean, if you were going to do it his way, you'd work for him. You know, I guess if you had somebody that you could hire who could, you know, literally be your alter ego, because you are right on, I think, right on the cusp of building a great company. But I think you're going to need help to do that.
Yep.
Now, let's ask the question, can you afford help?
It would be tricky at the moment and depends on the salary.
So I've got quite a few people I coach now who are all about your age and who are all just on the precipice of hiring a second in command. And, you know, you could hire somebody, you know, who isn't really, you know, maybe is cheaper, but really won't do you any good. If you have somebody who you have to babysit, 1 + 1 is going to make 1.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, if you had a direct report who came to you with 20 times a day saying, what do you want me to do next, Brad? That person's not going to last very long.
Mm-hmm.
So you need somebody who can make somewhere between 95 and 97% of the decisions by himself or herself, and only refer maybe 3% of those decisions to you, but also has to know which 3%.
Yep.
So I just went through this with another coaching client of mine. I think you would want to pay them a decent wage, but you don't give them any equity in the business, none. I hired people to help me with terrace investments. I was a bit younger than you are now. And the first hire I made, the very first one, was Cyril Leader. Cyril later became the president of the Ottawa Senators.
Ah, okay.
He worked for me for over 30 years. And so I would have been, you know, your age, maybe a bit younger, and Cyril would have been almost 10 years younger, so I think 8 or 9 years younger. And he was a chartered accountant working for one of the big, you know, public firms. And he hated being a CA. I interviewed a number of people for my second in command, and there were 2 final candidates, Cyril and one other. The other candidate was very flashy, had a nice suit, good shoes, super charming, and Cyril had a bad suit, bad shoes, and was a very quiet person. You practically had to torture him to get him to say anything. But I thought there was a lot of depth there. And entrepreneurs tend to make lots and lots of messes, and you need a second in command to come behind you and clean up. And that's what Cyril did for me for 35 or maybe even longer, over 35 years, I think, and did a wonderful job of that. He brought organization, system, and process to the firm, and I went out and created opportunities. Mm-hmm. And now I never gave him any equity in the business, but I paid him a decent wage. And I believe in giving employees, instead of cash, I give them psychic cash. Do you know what psychic cash is?
No.
Well, for example, in the early days when I was building my team at Christmas time, for example, I remember one Christmas I gave all of my top executives a big Sony picture-in-picture TV, which probably weighed over 200 pounds then. And you know, and for the next 20 years, every time their kids or their wives, you know, turned that TV on, they thought, oh, what a great guy Bruce is. So back then they cost quite a bit of money, $3,500 each. But you know, if you give them a $3,500 cash bonus, it gets spent immediately. You give them a $3,500 Sony picture-in-picture TV, that thing would, I bet you they'd be working today. You know, and so that's psychic cash. The other thing that I did as well to compensate my employees as I was building townhouses and other things is I would allow them to buy their first house, for example, from the company at cost. And do you want to see some of the townhouses that we built?
Sure. I'm also interested to hear your perspective on how do you know it's the right person?
That's a good question, Robert.
That's my biggest fear.
Oh, for sure. That's a real concern. Man, I don't want to go there. Let's see. It's over here. So I built this subdivision. It's called Robertson Mews. And the very first townhouses that I built were here. Quite beautiful town. This is Bell's Corners.
Oh, those are nice.
They're beautiful. They were designed by Barry Holman. He was a young architect then, and I was a young man, and he was very talented, still is, of course. And so these are all brick towns. And I remember Cyril and his wife Lydia bought this one. It's an end unit, beautiful unit. And you know, back then they were really expensive. Like $285,000 was cost on this damn thing. You know, they were really, I mean, they're huge and they're very expensive. And so they were selling back then for about $385,000. I have no idea what they sell for today, but probably quite a bit more. But Cyril and Lydia got their start here. That is a huge, huge advantage to a young family. And the loyalty I got. This is the same group that went to the mattresses with me to found the Ottawa Senators in the NHL. These people were so committed to the company, but they didn't own any part of the company. Lucky for them, because as you know, I went broke. But you know, and by the way, all the guys who work for me, they can buy and sell me 10 times over now, or 20 times over. I mean, you know, Cyril ended up president of the Senators, you know, making over $1 million a year as president of a National Hockey League team, and he's a CA, chartered accountant, and obviously much smarter than his boss because he kept his money. I just threw mine away on the squad, on the cents. But this is a kind of psychic cash, if you understand what I'm getting at. All right. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I'd like you to do a little bit of homework is look at that list that I just sent you, and see if you can identify a way to fund maybe an $85,000 a year person, in a way that it doesn't come out of your genes. Do you understand?
Yeah, I'm just taking some.
I mean, I know that you're working with Blair Capital and you're a very creative guy. You know, what I would do back in the day when I was starting is, you know, I wanted to hire Cyril. Now, he would have made $85,000 back then. He might have made $45,000 back then. But still, $45,000 back then was probably money I didn't have. So I wanted to make sure before I hired him that I had a year's salary. And I remember in one of the projects I was doing at the time, I budgeted project management costs for my time and Cyril's time. And we had, I think, we had like a receptionist. Back in the day, you would have a receptionist, and I think we had another executive assistant. So my staff would have been me and 3 people. Me, Cyril, and 2 others. And that probably, excluding myself, that probably, you know, back then you'd pay an executive assistant $22,000 and a receptionist $18,000. So I probably had a salary budget of about $85,000. And what I did for a particular project that I was involved in, excuse me, is I budgeted, you know, a project management fee in Robertson Mews, that first subdivision I did, which is not just those buildings that you saw. There were, I think, 120 condos that we were building there. We built a retirement residence called Robertson House, and we had 1-bedroom condos, 2-bedroom condos, townhouses. I mean, quite a range of things. So it was the project was worth a few $1 million, but I was able to put into the construction budget, you know, probably $150,000 a year of project management costs, and you know, I was able to get financing for that. That included, you know, construction costs, obviously, to build these things, but also some of the soft costs as well.
Mm.
So you know, and you're doing, you know, when I looked at your list here, you know, you're doing it probably enough projects that you could find a way somewhere in all of this stuff. But what I don't want is, I don't want you to say, yes, I'm going to hire somebody and pay him or her $85,000 a year, and I have to work 10 times harder as a marketing consultant. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
that's not the answer.
right. It would be trying to fund it through those green things.
I think so. And as you know, when we're doing appraisals, I ask my clients, all of them, to estimate the amount of time that they're spending on a project. And what's your billing rate? So Mike Montone, who is a roofer and a wonderful, again, another young man, a very smart businessman, he was doing a renovation of a property he bought in Canada. And he put in almost 6 months well, he put in 6 months of his time, about 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day for 6 months, you know, because he was on site every day managing the project and talking to the contractor, et cetera. And so he had about $50,000 worth of his time there at $85 an hour. And when we got it appraised, we put a, you know, we give, as you know, when I get an appraisal done, before we get an appraisal done, I always do a comparative market analysis,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I do CMAs, even for residential investing. I do it based on three things. One being obviously comparables, if there are any, look at those. Two, what was the cost to complete, less any depreciation. And three, on an income basis. So when Mike finished his project, we were doing a cost to complete, and on a comparables basis and also on an income basis, we came out around $500,000 for that project. It'd be quite a bit more today. But on a cost to complete, it was around $450,000. And then I asked him that question, well, how much time did you, well, what's the relevance of that? I said, Mike, your time is worth a lot. And so when we added all the hours he put in and we multiplied by 85, it was like almost 50 grand. So all three of these valuations came in around the same amount, around 500,000. And when we gave that information to the appraiser before he did the appraisal, I highlighted that for the appraiser. And I said, look, we have almost $50,000 worth of Mike's time there, but we have it all tabulated. And the appraiser accepted that.
And what about taking those kinds of salaries directly from construction draws?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact is, you know, for you, whether it's somebody with a bit of a financial background like Cyril Leader had, or somebody with a construction background like Bob Braden had, another man executive who worked for me, you know, they cost money and you need them.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree with that. And as long as you can get the appraiser to agree with that in terms of construction loans, some of these appraisers are completely unreasonable. And those are the people I fire.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about
I just don't accept that. But you know, in any construction budget, including Belleville, I'll put at least $50,000 or $55,000 in the Belleville project for a project manager, because you got to have somebody on site.
Yep.
And if it's not me, it's going to be you. And if it's not you, it's going to be your number two person, and somebody has to pay that person. So for an appraiser to say, oh, well, we're not recognizing any soft costs, well, to heck with you. I don't agree with that. And we're going to get somebody else to appraise it and somebody else to approve the draws. So I think you should look for a way to do that. Listen, this is just me talking. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But you will, in my opinion, you will never build a diversified real estate company is worth a few $100 million and it's doing $100 million plus in revenues without that. At Terrace Investments Limited, which was the first parent company of the Ottawa Senators, when I bought that company in 1983, it did I think $350,000 total volume for the year. It was pretty small. That was 1983. By 1992, it topped 120 million a year. There's no way you can, at least no way I could have done that by myself. I needed help from a team, and I put a great team together. Now, you ask, how do you know who the right person is? Well, one thing I would look for is somebody, probably your first hire should be a man. Women have tremendous capabilities, but a young woman between 26 and 32 might take a year or two off to have a baby. Nothing wrong with that. At the Senators, we had a lot of young women, and we kept their jobs for as long as 2 years. We would pay them 80% of their full salary for a year. This is long before this was ever even contemplated by government. And we would hold the job open for another year without paying them anything. Because we trained them so well and they were so valuable, we wanted them back. But the number 2 person cannot take a year or two off to have a baby.
Yep.
You just cannot have that, in my opinion. I think the first hire would be somebody who is a man between 26 and 32 years of age. He should have, in my opinion, a civil engineering degree or something like a finance degree. So you can go in either direction. Both would work for you, I think. They have to have mental flexibility. They have to be able to adapt, and they have to be well organized, and they balance your skills. You're not looking for another entrepreneur. Right. And I would give them, in addition to the psychic cash that I talked about, and then being able to buy one of the townhouses maybe at cost, I would also give them ad hoc bonuses. I would not give people specific bonuses. And the reason for that, Brad, is that if you tie bonuses to individual performance, then you won't have a team. You'll just have a bunch of individuals. So when the company did very well, I was very lucky. We were making 12, 13, $14 million profits a year. Even when I operated the Senators in the first year in 92, 93, operating the second smallest building in the NHL, downtown at the Ottawa Civic Center, we made $9.6 million in earnings. So I know how to run businesses. The guy who came in after me does not, but I did. And we were very profitable. And so when the company was successful, I would give the team members bonuses based on company performances every July before the people went off on their holidays, and every Christmas before they had a Christmas break. Because I didn't want to, if you're just rewarding individual performance, that's all they focus on. So how do you find the right person?
Yeah,
it's a process.
Yeah.
But first, I would identify a little pocket of money that will last a year, and within a year, if you hired the right person, you don't worry about the second year.
It'll pay for itself.
It will absolutely pay for itself. Probably 3 times or 4 times over. Certainly Cyril Leader, paid for himself, hundreds of times over. I really believe that. I mean, he helped me build a company that was worth $500 million and had 120 million a year in revenues and was very profitable. The fact that it went broke was not his fault.
Right.
That's on me, not on him. So I don't know if that helps you, but that's what I think you should give serious consideration to.
Yeah, it's something I'd been thinking about for a long time, and I'd only gotten to the virtual assistant thought process, but I didn't think I was at the point where I could afford or needed someone full time. But I mean, I could list out the tasks I do during a day, and 90% of them could be done by someone else, and I could just focus on the things that I'm really good at.
If I were I'm a civil engineer. If I was a young civil engineer, 26, and I could go and work for you, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would. I have a lot of respect for you, Brad, and I'm ambitious for you too. I want to live long enough to see you at $500 million.
We'll get there.
I think you will, and of course we've talked about this before. And you won't be stupid and buy an NHL team, right? So
maybe a rugby team.
Yeah, maybe a rugby team, but they're a little cheaper to operate.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we've dealt with that. I'm going to send you how to hire a 2IC, this thing here. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like that, Bruce. Thank you.
I think you should have this. But in terms of hiring the right person, that's important. You've heard this expression before: hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
So if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Just fire them. I am really good at that. And really, I mean, not because I'm mean. Nobody likes to fire people, but because, you know, when you have somebody who's not working out, when you fire them, they almost always end up in a better situation than working for you or me, which wasn't working anyway.
Yeah.
So I really think that you hire slow, you make sure you've got the right person to the extent you can. But if you make a mistake, see if you can figure that out in the first 3 months and just let them go.
Yep.
And the first 3 months, don't pay them $85,000 a year. Say, look, I'm going to pay you dirt. I'm going to pay you half or 2/3 of what you're going to get. You make it through that 3-month period, I'll pay you 85 grand. But the first 3 months, I'll pay you $4,500 a month for 3 months. So you could probably find, you know, 13 or 14,000 bucks in one of these projects, you know, to try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not the end of the world. He or she, well, it would be a he, I think, is 28 years of age and didn't work and made a little bit of money, and you got rid of him because he wasn't working.
Yep. Agreed.
But it would make a huge difference to your ability to move much faster if you get the right person. And a civil engineer, one of the things about engineers that I like is almost every engineer I've ever met in my life knows one thing, and that's how to work hard. They are not lazy. They have lots of other skills, but you know that they are hard workers. Okay, so we dealt with that. All right, let's deal with some of the other simpler things. You had on your agenda Calabogie peaks. We'll just deal with that. It was on your agenda, and I wanted to show you what Paul Murphy sent me. By the way, so far it's just you, me, and Paul in this Belleville project.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad Paul's involved.
Yes. I meant to tell you that, but I think I've forgotten. I meant to tell Paul too. So right now we've got Murphy, Cartier, and Firestone. You know, all the three suckers who are working on Belleville. There might be one or two more, but there's not going to be 10 more. No. You know, maybe one or two more. And Paul's a wonderful person. So this is what
the reason I wanted to talk about Paul is because I have a in-person meeting with him next week.
He is, well, you could talk Belleville. You're now partners.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't forget this time. So, you know, you heard Paul's introduction on that call we were on. You know, he's a very impressive guy. But, you know, all the credentials in the world are worth less to me than the fact that he's got a good heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are only two kinds of people in this world, in my opinion, not based on race, creed, color, gender, sexual orientation, none of that. There's people you trust and there's people you don't. Yep. Those are the only two kinds of people. And, you know, we have, and Paul, you can trust. I'm absolutely sure of that. So he sent me this, and I'll see if I can blow it up a little bit. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is his plan for Calabogie peaks. And you heard, I think I told you, at least I hope I did, that we blew out 32 units in the last 60 days, right?
Yeah, that's impressive.
In a town of like a village of 1,400 people, maybe in that area. It's very small. And this is just—
What was the average cost of those condos?
Well, the last one I sold, or Century 21 sold with Paul on behalf of Paul and his group, was, I think, $314,000 plus HST.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and don't forget, it was one of those cedars. So it had the main apartment and then the lock-off suite.
Ah.
Did I ever show you that design?
I didn't see them, no.
I really want to show it to you because, I mean, when I started coaching, you know, I'm coaching Paul and his group, right?
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can find it. Hang on. So when I started coaching them, you know, I just couldn't believe it when he sent me the designs. Can you sort of see it on your screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I didn't do this. he was gigaplexing his units before he had ever heard the term. And I went, Paul, and Jim Hemlin, his partner, business partner, I said, I am really impressed. He hadn't quite worked it out in all the details, but it was, 98% or 96% of the way, almost all the way there. So this is the Cedars. This is one of their units. And you come in here, this is the main entrance, and you've got a bedroom here, bathroom here. You walk in here, you've got your living room, you've got your fireplace, your kitchen, etc. And then the lock-off suite, or what I would call the micro suite, or the Gigaplex unit, is here. It has its own entrance to the outside. You can see that, right?
Yep.
And you walk in here, and it's of course double loaded, so you can, obviously go back and forth between the lock-off suite and the main apartment. You come in here, and you've got a bedroom and a bathroom. Now, what it was missing was they needed a micro kitchen, and they needed a stacked washer and dryer, and a bit of a work area as well. So
about 300 square feet. I see that right?
It's about, I think I actually have that here somewhere. Oh no, yeah, it is there. Sorry, 366 square feet. And I'm getting a headache looking at that. Okay. So 366 square feet, and it was almost 100% the Gigaplex idea, except for the fact they were missing the micro kitchen and the stacked washer and dryer. Otherwise, it was perfect. And when I got involved with them, and they asked me to help them with some coaching, I said, we're going to change your branding. We're going to change your marketing, because you guys have a tiger here you don't even know. They were selling them separately, and they were not having any success. Like they sold, I don't know, maybe they sold 8 in a year. Maybe not even that. Maybe they sold 5 or 6. I don't remember. It's a very, very small number. I said, your marketing, your product is excellent. It's 98% done, or 96%, whatever. But your branding and marketing is, I didn't say terrible, but I implied that. It was horrible. So I said, we can only sell them as a package, right, Brad? Mm-hmm. And we're going to sell them as, something that's very exciting, with the Gigaplex idea, where, and so the last sale that we did, I remember it was to a young man and his wife, Gershon, and his wife, Kaylee, beautiful young couple. And they wanted the 1-bedroom apartment for themselves. But as soon as they saw, for $314,000 plus HST, that they could have a lock-off suite where they could do the Gigaplex thing, the augmented tenancy thing, bring in an elder, or bring in a roommate, put it on Airbnb during ski season or golf season. They went, oh my God, I've got a building that's a liability, because I have to pay money, and I've got a lock-off suite or Gigaplex suite, a studio apartment, a micro suite, whatever you call them. I don't even know what to call them anymore, where I can make some money. I said, and by the way, Gershon and Kaylee saw it even before they saw the marketing. I don't know how they figured it out, but they knew right away. I think Gershon is a real estate guy. He might be a realtor. So he immediately understood the potential here to use that micro suite to offset their occupancy costs. They could have their own house and since they can work remotely, both him and his wife, they could be anywhere within, reason. I mean, they have to come to Ottawa maybe once every couple of weeks, right? So what we did was we retrofitted these units for micro kitchens, and we sold them with a completely different branding to it. Blew out 60 units 32 units in 60 days.
That's amazing.
Right? So I am absolutely sure. I mean, I was very confident before, but I'm now absolutely sure that this idea has legs. Did I show you what one of my clients is doing in White Rock, BC?
No.
He's doing a whole building of these things.
How many floors?
6-story building. I'll see if I can find it for you.
Well, actually, the city just came back to us on the 2 lots that we bought, and they said they would actually like 8 units instead of 6 units.
Oh, that's horrible.
And commercial.
Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, I'm so excited. Yes, here it is. I found it. Oh, amazing. So this is one of my clients out in British Columbia. White Rock is like really upper crust,
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know, these people have money coming out of their friggin' ears. So this is his building here, commercial at grade. It's 6 stories, and his entire building, once you get over the ground floor, are going to be. This isn't a very good drawing, but I'll make it a little bigger. Yeah, can you see it? Okay, sort of.
Yep.
So what does it look like to you?
Looks like a gigaplex.
The whole building. So you come in here. This is the main entrance here.
What are they calling it? We need a name.
He calls it a lock-off suite. Listen, we don't have a really good name for it. Actually, we do. One of my other clients is building them in Quebec, and he has a wonderful name, but it's secret. He hasn't released it yet, so I'm not allowed to talk about it. But he has a better name than any of the other names, and I wish I could share it with you, but I would be in real trouble if I did that. And I think he has trademarked the name. It's a beautiful name. It is the best name for it. But for now, we'll just call it a Gigaplex unit. And Gigaplex is okay. It's not as good as his name though. So he's got his Gigaplex unit here, and then he's got the larger apartment here. Very similar to what Paul was doing in Calabogie. So this drawing here definitely came from me and the work I've been doing, but the one that Paul was doing and Jim Hemlin in Calabogie was all on them, okay?
Yeah.
So he's doing an entire building like this, and guess what? We're close. We haven't done it yet. We're close to pre-selling the building to a not-for-profit organization that does housing with support from BC Housing. $45 million sale price. He has a GMP, guaranteed maximum price from PCL. You know what that is, right?
No.
So when you're building a building of this scale, you need a GMP. So a GMP is a guaranteed maximum price from your contractor. It's insured and bonded. Now, you know who PCL is, right?
No.
Okay, PCL is one of the largest constructors in Canada and the United States. They probably do 11, 12 billion dollars worth of construction activity in Canada. Maybe it's more than that now. And they built the Canadian Tire Center for me.
Okay.
It was called the Palladium back then. And they gave me a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price of $240 million. Once you get a GMP from a contractor that's insured and bonded, you can finance against that.
Ah, got it.
Right? So I could go to a bank, a group of lenders, and say, okay, PCL, you know, if I guaranteed it, you know, I don't really have a lot of money these days, but I have a little bit. If I guaranteed it, it might not count for very much. But if PCL guarantees it, that would be a AA covenant. So below Canada, I hope is going to retain its AAA covenant status. The United States, I think, is still AAA. PCL would be one level below that, but still very good.
Yep.
PCL is able to borrow money on the public markets at around 1% today.
Jeez.
So once I had a guaranteed maximum price from PCL, I could then go and finance against that. The banks would consider that again. It's like having your rich Uncle Buck guarantee your house.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a GMP, and we have this is private information. We've locked in for Paul, my client in BC, a $7 million profit on it.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's great. You know, no, that's not quite done yet, but it looks like it's going to get done. But the BC Housing people that are, and by the way, we have a 50-year commitment from Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to finance this building for the not-for-profit with BC Housing's guaranteed 50 years at 1.45%. A 50-year mortgage at 1.45%. I said to the group when we did a call on this about 10 days ago, I said, yeah, you're going to accept that. That's free money.
Yeah.
1.45, a 50-year mortgage.
That's insane.
It's insane because we just don't have enough affordable housing. But CMHC, BC Housing, and the not-for-profit that's going to actually own this thing, and they have money, they adore this concept. They completely get it.
Yeah.
And you know, that was what sold it. So, you know, I was confident in the Gigaplex a year or two ago, but now I've got more experience with it. I know it's working. It's biting.
How do you fit into the CMHC criteria for affordable housing if presumably you're getting a little bit more than market rents for these types of units?
Well, yeah, that's a little bit of a complicated question. So the way it works is this is a not-for-profit that's buying this with help from BC Housing and, of course, the mortgage from CMHC. The commitment is that 50% of the units will be subsidized, affordable housing, and 50% will be at market and a little bit more. And they're using a technique that I pioneered it. I'm not sure if I'm the only person who's used it, but I think I was the first. I helped do a housing co-op in Canada called Blue Heron Co-op. Have you ever seen it?
No.
So I'll just show it to you. Yeah, it's been very successful. So this is one of the projects I was going to show you anyway when we have our discussion about land leasing.
Okay.
Okay. So you know March Road in Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's quite the picture.
High res. There we go.
So down here, we're looking south on March Road. Down here would be Alcatel or Nokia. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to move a little further north here. This is, you would have passed this on the way to the barn when you came to visit me.
Yep.
So it's a 4-story co-op, and you can see in the back here that it has a bunch of townhouses. Can you sort of see that back here?
Yep. Yep.
All right. And I'm going to just go back here, and I'm going to go to the oblique view. All right. So here's the oblique view. So this property here, Brad, from Sand Hill Road to March Road is owned by St. John's Anglican Church. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the church over here. Mm-hmm. And that's where my 5 kids were baptized here. Okay. And they own the whole property here, and they had decided to sell this land because they wanted to add a little bit more room for Sunday school and some other things. And when I heard about this, I went to see the minister there. His name is Mr. Clooney, the minister. And I said, I don't think you should sell it. And he said, well, we need the money. And I said, well, I think you could do what the Holy Roman Catholic Church does and enter into a long-term land lease instead of selling it. Mm-hmm. Now, when you talk to an Anglican about the Holy Roman Catholic Church, you just put your foot in your mouth. I was talking not only to the Reverend Clooney, but I was also talking to the vestry. Do you know what a vestry is?
No.
It's like the board of directors of the church, but they don't call it a board of directors. It's a vestry. So, I absolutely put my foot in my mouth there. And I said, well, the Catholic Church is one of the wealthiest organizations on the planet, and they probably are one of the largest landowners in the world. Mm-hmm. You can go into just about every town and village and city across the planet, and some of the nicest sites in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in North America are owned by the church. And they don't sell it, they land lease it. Mm-hmm. Because if you talk to, the people in the Vatican, and I have, they think of the church as having a 1,000 or 2,000 or a 5,000 year mandate, not like you and I are worried about the next year.
Yeah.
The church is trying to think 1,000 and 2,000, maybe even 5,000 or 10,000 years down the road. So they understand that owning land and leasing it for 99 years is consistent with that plan. Mm-hmm. So and at the same time, I knew that the Canada Co-op was looking to build a co-op. So I said to the Canada, because they were looking to buy land in Canada, which is very expensive. And I said, well, do you have $1 million in your bank account? They said, we don't have a penny, maybe we have $10,000. So I said, what if we were to do a land lease with St. John's? Would you be interested in that? And they said, oh, yeah. So from St. John's point of view, they're about, I can't remember, but let's say there's 120 units here between the apartments and the towns. The land lease is about $50 or $60 a month per unit. You with me on that?
Yep.
And so the church gets probably $6,000 or $7,000 a month in income, which would be, you know, $70,000 or $80,000 a year. And the land lease is triple net. You understand what that means, right?
Yes.
It's worry-free to the church. So if you know, something goes wrong with the townhouses or the apartment, it's not their concern. So we did a 65-year land lease, excuse me, between what is now Blue Heron Co-op and St. John's, and there's a 30-year renewal. So it's a total of 95 years.
Okay.
And it saves the co-op from having to write a check for $1 million. And you remember I talked about free land. If you think about it, the co-op never actually pays one nickel, because that $50 or $60 of land lease payments per month per unit is paid by the, you know, the tenant.
The tenant, yeah.
Okay. And so if you look at the total revenue for St. John's over 65 years, it's something like $5 or $6 million. And after 65 years or 95 years, whatever it is, St. John's will get it back. They could do it again.
Yep.
So eventually the vestry said, "Ooh, we really like that idea." And, you know, and it's committed monthly recurring revenues, which is very important, even if you're a church, even particularly if you're a church, because a lot of churches are quite poor these days.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And from the co-op's point of view, so we have now 2-bedroom apartments in Canada that you can rent if you can get, there's a long waiting list for the co-op, that you can rent for about $900 a month. Homestead, which built some nice buildings also in Canada, rents 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units for between $2,400 and $2,800 a month. So it worked really, really well. And we did something else here that I suggested to the nonprofit organization in White Rock, and that was, at Blue Heron, we run an internal subsidy. We do rent some of them at higher rents. And we actually, so your rent, when you rent one of these, your rent might be $900 a month, and then we might put a surcharge on some of these units. About half of them have a surcharge on them, I think of about $50 or $60 a month. It's actually a surcharge. It shows up in your lease that way. And that money generates enough money so that we have some units in this building that rent for $400 a month.
Wow.
So you could have you know, some of them are 3-bedroom units. We could, some of those townhouses, we can rent for like $400 a month to say a single mom with 3 kids or 2 kids. She pays $400 a month instead of, you know, if you had to rent one now in Canada, it might be $3,000. But that, if you think about that internal subsidy, it's completely sustainable. It doesn't require any money from government.
Mm-hmm.
And from the point of view of getting in here, you know, you could go and rent from Homestead for $2,600 a month, or you can rent from Blue Heron for $950 for essentially the same 2-bedroom apartment. But you do know that you're paying a little bit more than your neighbors.
Yep.
But, you know, like one of my former students who drives a Zamboni for the city of Ottawa, he makes $95,000 a year. And he makes $95,000 a year as a Zamboni driver, and his buddy is a roofer who makes about $70,000 or $80,000. So the two of them are roommates in this thing, and they pay between the two of them. You know, I think you know, Mike and his roommate, they're paying like $475 each, and you know, I mean, these guys have all the toys, right?
Yeah.
The biggest 4x4s, the nicest boats you can imagine. You know, they're doing very well.
Yeah.
And they, you know, so the extra $50 or $60 that surcharge, they don't care. It's like a ticket to get into a lottery, where you know you're going to be a winner.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
Calabogie.
yeah, sorry about that. I do get a little distracted.
No, it's okay.
So this thing here for White Rock, half the units will be below market, and half the units will be at market plus a little more.
Okay.
And they completely understand that how these lock-off suites will work to generate income for people who need extra income. So you could be a mom with a kid, and you could rent this thing or turn it into a daycare or whatever you're going to do with it, whatever. Bring in an elder, all this stuff. Interestingly enough, in White Rock, the model probably is going to be the reverse of what I thought it was going to be. So I thought that you and your wife as a young couple would live here, and you might bring in an elder here if your wife was a PSW, for example. But in White Rock, the older people have all the money. So no, it's true. So what they think they're going to do for the market rentals is this unit, which is very nice, will be rented to an older person, and he or she, probably she, because mostly they're women, men are all dead, will bring in a PSW to live in the micro suite. So they'll bring in a younger person. And when that wasn't my idea, that was Paul's idea, the developer. When he said that to me, I did exactly what you did. I went, "Oh, Paul, that's a reverse model," but you're absolutely right. I completely missed that.
It just blew my mind.
I could see that. I did exactly the same thing, because what Paul said is that as people get older, mostly they're women, in their 80s and 90s, the men are all dead. They have, in Vancouver, they have a house that they bought for $300,000 that's worth $3 million. They sell it. They move into a nice apartment like this, and they put their caregiver in the micro suite.
Makes sense. That's genius.
It's genius. And the reason that it's such a popular concept, and again, this is Paul, not me, is that a lot of elders, after watching what happened with COVID-19, do not want to be in a building just with old people. That is like a ticket for death. And so when Paul, so you're going to have a nice young lady living there who's got her PSW. You can give her subsidized rent, or just a normal rent, but you hire her for a bunch of hours. Maybe she ends up living for free or even a negative cost. So he reversed the model, and I thought it was fantastic. All right, let's go back to Calabogie. Sorry about that.
Okay. I think my biggest concern with Paul is that I want to be as valuable. Provide as much value to him as possible. So I'd be interested to hear what he's doing, and then maybe.
So here it is. This is the key thing. So he has, this is the master plan. This is Juniper Ridge. He will have 153 condos, 55 single family lots, and 42 townhome lots in Juniper Ridge. Then he has the pedestrian village, which is 225 condos, 50 townhomes, and commercial at grade.
This is all proposed?
All proposed. I mean, there's a lot that exists there, but this is
new.
What's to be built, right? So this is the new stuff. So you'll see. Then on the waterfront, he's got the golf and waterfront. He's proposing 70 townhomes and 28 with a neighboring parcel. I'm not sure what that means. Then he's got the golf course. He's got 75 quarter-acre lots. And then one of the things that really excites me is he is proposing to build a tiny home neighborhood with 89 quarter-acre lots each, where you could put a tiny home.
Are these all going to be resale or rentals?
So I'm going to just get out of this so I don't screw it up. There's something else I had to show you. Hang on. Damn, I forgot. What was the question?
Are any of these new developments going to be rentals, or are they all resale communities? Like, is he going to sell them or hold on to them as rentals?
So probably just before I answer that question, the most important factor here, which I didn't know until fairly recently, is that Paul Murphy and Jim Hemlin have a company called Calabogie Utilities, and they got it approved by the township, by the county, and by the province, which is like literally parting the Red Seas, so that every one of these lots will have piped water and sewer. That is a huge friggin' deal. Mm-hmm. So we're not sure. I'm going up to visit Paul and Jim this month. I can't remember exactly when, but sometime this month I'm going up there. So we're not sure what to do with it. Because it will have piped water and sewer, you know, it probably will be of some interest to tract home builders. Tract home builders, you know, Mattamy and Phoenix and Cardell and Minto and all these other guys, they are not interested in doing rural lots. They are not. They're afraid of the well and septic thing. They just don't know it. They don't do it. But you know, these come fully equipped with water and sewer, and instead of buying your water and sewer from the city of Ottawa, you're buying it from Calabogie Utilities. It's a real company. Mm-hmm. It's a profit center for them. It's fantastic. So some of these lots could be sold to tract builders, could be sold to custom home builders. Some of them could be built by Paul and Jim and kept for rental. We don't really know.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what you might do there.
That's that's sort of where I was going with that. Yeah, I mean, the building is very localized right now. Like our infrastructure and people we know is not in Calabogie at the moment. My expertise, Blair Capital's expertise, is really in the managing property management side of it. But I wouldn't want to be a property manager without having ownership in a development. So I'm trying to think out of the box of how I could help Paul or be involved. But at this point, it's just sort of, I'm in listening mode and seeing if I can provide as much value to him as possible.
Yeah. You're already involved in a little way, in a small way in Calabogie. And, you know, Paul and Jim have built stuff. I mean, they built the Cedars, those units that you saw, and they did a fine job. You know, and they could sell them, those two units together, for $314,000 plus HST and still make money. Mm-hmm. So they must be doing something right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, you know, it's, you know, and yeah, I don't know what you could do there, but I think Blair Capital, you know, would be interesting if you ended up with, you know, probably the towns would be more interesting for you than the single family homes.
Yes.
And, you know, and we like, you and I like towns with, you know, apartments at the garden level or in the basement level, or they can be like the Cedars, they could be side by side, it doesn't matter, you know, it just has to work. You know, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you ended up owning 70 towns there.
Well, maybe something like the Blair walk model with the pedestrian walkway designed after sort of a European type feel could work in that kind of area.
Well, now that you mentioned Blair Walk, let's go look at that. Maybe you could just take me through this. So tell me more about what you're doing here.
Sure. So this lot is right on the main drag in Rockland, across from the independent grocer. It's for sale. It's unlisted. Yeah, it's unlisted at the moment. It's for sale for $750,000. It's 1.2 acres. The city is more than happy for, you know, high density to go in here. They'd like to see some commercial, but are open to residential. So me and my partners are thinking of putting in an offer in the next week or two, and doing an extended due diligence period on it, just because it is off market at the moment. That home you see there has to come down. That's old family homestead. The family still owns it. I don't know much about the family, only that I've heard from multiple people that they're very difficult to deal with. But those two structures on there would come down, and essentially, you know, you could build, you know, a couple blocks of commercial with on the main floor and residential on the top. That's sort of the standard design. But I started thinking more and more. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but thinking more and more about creating an attraction in Rockland and other smaller communities as well.
So it does appear that at one point it was for sale.
Yeah, it was on the market. It didn't sell. It's off market now, but there's still a sign up there. So this is sort of you can see how central this is. This is really in the heart of Rockland. It's all commercial. This is,
I love it.
Urban core. So I don't know if this lot is going to work for the Blair Walk model, but I would really like to do the Blair Walk model somewhere. which is essentially putting two townhome blocks. So go to the next. So here we go. This is good. So you see the two long, skinny townhome blocks. The entrances would be facing outward, not inward.
Can you explain that to me? I'm not sure I understood that.
Yeah. So you won't be able to see my mouse, but essentially on if you look at the left side, the left side block. So in between the black and blue line, there'd be a walkway, pedestrian.
Okay. So the front door is here and here.
No, other way around.
Oh, because it says pedestrian walkway here.
Yep, but that would be a different one, and there'd be commercial in there. So on the outsides would be the entrances there.
So the entrances are here.
Yes.
And here.
Yes.
But this is commercial.
So yes, but that's on the next slide. That would be a pedestrian walkway, and then we'd have. So this is just the towns. It would have to be a very skinny townhome design, much like you see in big urban centers. Very nice stone design. Walk up, yeah, and maybe even the ADUs that are semi below grade as well. It's just I hate the cookie cutter townhome design. So I see a lot of these when I was in Vancouver, Bruce, and then when I've traveled overseas.
And thanks for sending me those pictures.
Yeah, no problem.
But can we go back to this?
Yes.
So maybe I've got it wrong, okay, and I might be wrong, but you've got these two buildings facing each other, correct?
Yes. So actually, if you go 2 slides over, I got a visual. One more. Here we go.
Okay.
So this top right photo with the red boxes, that would be looking from Laurier at those 2 blocks. The middle part, the middle empty part there would be the pedestrian walkway. So you follow me?
I'm being stupid. I'm sorry.
Okay. So it's hard because I can't show you my mouse.
Listen, I'll tell you what. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
And I'm going to make you the co-host, and then you can help me.
Okay.
Can you find the slide deck?
Yes, I can. Here we go. Okay. I'm gonna share screen here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Perfectly.
Okay. So let's get to this slide here. Let's get to present. Okay. So here where my mouse is, these will be all the entrances on this side and this side.
Entrances to residential units.
The residential units. These will be the townhomes that you see. Picture this. This block. This will be one block.
Beautiful.
Here, another block here.
Okay. No commercial in those blocks.
Yes, there is.
Okay, where?
So if you see these 2 blocks here, the entrances are right here, correct? You got that? Entrances are both on these sides.
Yes.
So you'd come in, this little block here would be your basement ADU, about 500 square feet. And then you'd have 2 floors up here that would be your residential, your 2 floors of your townhome.
This is an elevation, not a plan.
Right.
Okay. I was looking at it in plan view, and I'm thinking, what the hell is that?
Yeah, sorry. That was my mistake.
No. Okay, so this is exactly what I imagined it was, but I just didn't understand your drawings.
Yeah.
So I get it.
So I'm not a creative designer.
No, it's very good. Okay, stop. Just stop. It's really good, Brad. I really like it. Just hang on. Don't do anything yet. All right. So are you familiar with the townhouses at Centrum that have done this?
No.
Can you stop sharing your screen and I'll show you?
Yes.
All right. So I'll share my screen now. I'm excited. Now I get it. Okay. I mean, I really struggled. I looked at it before we got on the call here, and I said, oh, I'm going to need some help here.
That's my poor illustration.
No. You know where Centerpoint is, right?
Yes,
Oops.
my kids did theater school there.
What's that?
My kids did theater school there 1 year.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, are you following that story where the backyard Shakespeare production? Doesn't that make you mad?
What a drama.
I mean, listen, having your kids learn Shakespeare, build a team, build a backyard theater. You know, I had a party for one of my daughters who got engaged in my backyard. I am sure we were much louder. We knocked it off at 11, but I'm sure we were much louder than friggin' a bunch of kids having a play.
Hmm.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
Okay, enough of that. I was pissed. I did talk to the mayor about it, by the way.
Okay.
You know, I'm opinionated, right?
That's why I like you.
Oh, thanks. I think it's this group of town homes here. So this group of townhomes, or kind of doubles, I guess, are exactly this concept of Blair Walk. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can get a picture of it here. Yeah, excellent. I'm good. So can you see there's a parking meter here?
Yep.
So the slope from Center Point to that residential street is like this. They've got commercial here facing Center Point.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side where the residential street is, they've got the house. Does that not look exactly like your drawing?
Yes, I'm gonna have to go by there.
You will have to go by there, but you'll have it on your video after we finish. So when you look, I wanted to buy one of these units when it came up, and I wasn't fast enough to get it. These units, when they come, they hardly ever trade. And when they do, you got to run in there with your offer, no conditions, and I'm buying it today. I'll close tomorrow. You can't get them because the number of accountants and lawyers and real estate coaches like me and entrepreneurs like you who adore this idea of having the live work thing. This is not new. This goes back, I think, at least 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It might be 30 years. Might date to the 80s.
Yep.
So, it might be 40 years. I don't know. So they're not new, but they're really, really good. So what you have here is you walk in here. You've got a beautiful office there. You know, a couple of offices, a bathroom, a little micro kitchen, everything. You could run you can run Blair Capital out of that thing. It's legal. Home-based businesses are legal. Now, I'll see if I can go back to the map. I don't think I can get much of a picture from the other side because I know I've tried that before, but I'll see what I can do. So these are the units here. So it's Center Point and Baseline.
Yep.
And all of these units here. And so when you drive around here to Thornbury Crescent, let's see if I can get here. I don't know why I had trouble last time. Looks like I'll be able to do it.
And that's where the commercial is?
No, that's on the other side. This is the residential side.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Did I not make that clear? That the commercial was on the other side?
Okay. No, it looked more like home office, not actual.
No, those are offices. Trust me on that. You saw the parking meter. It's commercial.
Got it. Okay.
It's on Center Point. Center Point's a much busier drive. This here, if you drive along this street here, you just see an ordinary, bunch of townhomes, right?
Yep.
Isn't it? This is Blair Walk, is it not?
Yep.
It's
yeah,
exactly
I think I had a different vision for what the commercial would be, and
oh yeah, you don't have to make it look so residential. But I remember when this design was approved, I certainly was all over this, and I said this is a really good design, because for a lot of doctors and dentists and whatever, they didn't want the strip mall.
Yeah.
But you can have the strip mall look. I mean, there's nothing that says if you prefer the strip mall look, you can certainly do that. But the people who did this did not want that look. Okay, right. So people are buying it. So for somebody like me as a coach, if I ever get to see people again in reality, I mean, wouldn't this be a wonderful unit for somebody like me? But on this side, it looks just like any other residential unit. So I'm going to go back. I guess I wasn't 100% clear. We'll go back on the other side of the street here, and we'll look again at these units. Damn, it's hard. So let's see if we can go in a little bit further and see if there's any signage here. So these are the commercial units, all right?
Yeah.
And you can see there's on-street parking, which I thought was, you know, very brave. And you just walk up the stairs here, and you can go get your hair cut or go see your lawyer or whatever.
Yep, I love that.
All right. So that is the Blair Walk idea, I think.
Yes, I think what outside of the pedestrian walkway, yes, that's essentially what I'm envisioning. I don't know if this lot is good for it. It's a little small, I think, but I'd still like to find some place to do something like this.
Well, this is a fantastic opportunity, but I really like it. I mean, and I guess this is parking here.
Yes, so that would be a multi-level parking for residents and people who come to do the pedestrian walk. So I'm envisioning on that pedestrian walkway on the commercial side. So if you go to the next, so that's sort of like, it's like a European type idea with Juliet balconies on the back end of the,
Wow.
the townhomes. And
I'm with you on this. To me, making that walk more commercial looking than what you saw on Centerpoint Drive, I think you're right. I think that would be you know, like if I were a coach and I had this kind of frontage as opposed to just more of a residential look, I think that would be really excellent. Nothing wrong with that.
You have cafes, ice cream shop, you have a little.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Oh my God. Okay, I get it. I get it. All right, now I'm getting it. Right. I mean, I really looked at this for a while and I thought, oh, I'm going to have to ask Brad on this thing. Did I send you what they're doing in Edmonton with their patios?
No.
So this is an extra little piece for you on Blair Walk, and I'll send you this. Edmonton, see if I can find it. Shoot. Ah, here it is. So
where they're heating them?
Well, I'll show you. This is an article from the CBC. Edmonton could become Canadian Copenhagen within a generation. So what they're going to do this winter, assuming that we get on top of this pandemic, if not this winter, then it'll be next winter, is they're going to run their patios downtown year round. And so they're going to make sure that streets, Copenhagen's already been doing this for at least a decade and a half. And Copenhagen winters, I've been there, you know, the sun comes up at 10, it goes down at 2, but people are going to these patios, you know, it's windy, it's cold, it's miserable, but they put a sheepskin over you and you sit outside and you experience the winter, but you're protected. Edmonton is adopted in this. Did you know that Edmonton got rid of all of their parking requirements in the city?
Yeah, I heard that. It's
incredible. Maybe I told you. I'll take credit for it anyway. So the one change I would make from this is if I were building this Blair Walk, what I would do, I'm just going to put this in here. I'm going to send you this right now before I forget, because this should be in addition to it. I would want you to run your patios year round. And I'm going to actually try this in Belleville. Like our Belleville patios, we're going to try this. We're going to go year round. And I'm going to see if I can get everybody else on Front Street to do that. Okay?
Okay.
You think about, if it works, think about the value it will add, right?
Oh, for sure. And I don't think winters in Belleville are as bad as they are in Ottawa.
It's like tropical compared to Ottawa. But Ottawa's better than friggin' Edmonton.
Yes, Edmonton's brutal.
Brutal, but they're going year round. And I just sent you the article. But did you ever see this corny video I did with my my son-in-law?
No.
I'll show it to you. You want to know how to windproof a city? I'm going to prove it to you. This is Pat Kerr.
Hi, Patrick. How's it going, Bruce? Hey, it's going good. So where are we today?
We are at Picton Beach.
Yeah. Did you have a good day so far?
Yes, pretty nice. A little bit chilly.
Yeah, a little windy, right?
Yes, very windy.
Okay, so Patrick, you're going to hold this thing up a little bit higher and off to that way a little bit. Okay, everybody can see that we're down here at the beach. Here's Picton Beach, and not far away, and it's pretty windy today. And what I wanted to show people is the only real way to create a windbreak is simply to plant a forest. If you want streets in Canada during the winter to be more walkable, windbreaks are not, artificial windbreaks are not going to work, but trees will. So Patrick, can you just move back a little bit, and I'll come with you just so we can see. So Patrick, you're now behind one tree, correct?
Yes.
And what's the wind like there? Has it dropped?
Yes. Right. Yes.
Right. So I would guess that over here where I am now, the wind speeds are about 15 to 18 knots. What do you think you're experiencing there? Yeah, that's what I would think. So, guys, when you want to create, when there's Google Sidewalk Labs, Alphabet Sidewalk Labs in Toronto or anywhere else, if you want to create a street in Canada, in Sweden, in Russia, in any northern country, you know, if you want to truly do that, you have to create streets and the streetscape with incredibly dense trees. The deer know this. They've known it for, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. And where do you think the deer go in the middle of the winter when the winds are howling over the plains? Where do they go? Why is that? Thank you very much, Patrick.
That's cute, eh?
Couldn't agree more.
So I'm not kidding. Let me just get rid of that. So I push this over here to the other screen. All right. So I'm going to send you this as well. Yeah. So I'll just call it more. So you're getting that corny video I did with Patrick. He's a really fine young man. But this dwarf evergreens thing, we are going to experiment with it in Belleville and elsewhere. And I would want you to do that on Blair Walk. And I'm going to suggest it to the young planner I know in Edmonton who pioneered this patio year-round thing. So what you would do with Blair Walk, shoot, give me a second here. I'm going to put it in your slide deck, just so I have it, is what you would do with Blair Walk is exactly this, right? You would, oh, that looks like crap.
The info's still there, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Well, oh, that's on record too, shoot.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah, oh, no, don't worry about it. I don't care really. I mean, when you get to a certain age, yeah, what the hell? People just forgive you, I guess. So, these are dwarf evergreens. They're like 8 feet high. Patrick Kerr went behind one measly tree on an 15 to 18 knot windy day, and that, you know, thing, I think it was a piece of toilet paper, it went like that. And just think about how effective it is, right? And so what we're going to do in Belleville is we're going to put around our patio these trees. It is the only way to windproof a patio. It's the only way. If you put up those windbreaks, you know, at the Canadian Tire Center, they put up that so-called wind tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, it was supposed to be to keep you out of the wind. It's worse in there.
Yeah, it's bad.
If I planted evergreens there and you could wind your way through that forest, I mean, in the coldest day in Ottawa, if you and your wife go snowshoeing and you're freezing, you get 2 meters in, not even 2 meters, maybe 1.5 meters into the forest, the wind dies to zero, and within a few minutes you're huffing and puffing and sweating.
And it's way more aesthetically pleasing, especially in commercial spaces.
Can you imagine what that would look like on Blair Walk? And people, I'm not kidding, would come to Blair Walk and they would hang out there. And you know, like all of this stuff, this is, you know, we're not really inventing anything here. We're just rediscovering.
Yep.
Like our ancestors, like if you go to the Inuit and the Eskimos, you know, do you think they stood there when it was -50 and the wind was blowing at 50 miles an hour? Do you think that they made igloos? Have you ever been inside a real igloo?
Yeah, it gets warm.
Yeah, you put a couple of whale oil candles in there and 3 wives. You're plenty warm.
Just the body heat alone, yeah.
Just well, a couple of, they used whale oil, of course, back then, and you put two or three of those pots with whale oil in them, and you've got, of course, seal skin, and that's very warm, and you've got lots of blubber to eat, and seal meat to eat, and 3 wives to keep you warm. You'll be fine. Trust me on that. So now we've talked about the design of it, and I kind of get it now. Are you going to buy this thing?
We're going to put in an offer probably in the next few weeks, and then I think I need to. I'm not sure if this model is going to fit on this lot. Ideally, we'd have 2 acres for this. If we did, so you can see there, like 20 feet. You need 20 feet wide per townhome. I need to do a bit of work with Chris to see if this can actually fit. The easy answer to this lot is just do a couple blocks of residential and commercial and have a street coming up the middle. That's a pretty easy win. This is a vision that I have.
I get that. So the only change I would make to this design is that I would make this end here and this end here and this end here commercial. And I would make these patio things that we've been talking about, I would make them, wrap around like this and in here as well to bring people in.
Okay.
Because your drawings here are, I mean, this is perfect. Nothing wrong with that. But imagine what I'm basically saying is I would want this stuff that you've got here, this commercial, to come down the walk and then wrap around the building. Do you sort of see what I'm getting at?
Yep.
So that the end units, first of all, those end units will rent for more. Yep. And they will have those patios along the street. And so once people see people sitting outside of these beautiful commercial, you can have residential above, that's fine. But the commercial wraps around these end units here, right? Wraps around here. And this is parking over here, right?
Yes. But
I would have a building here.
Yep.
It might just be its own little 1-story pad.
Yeah.
But because you want to make maximum use of the frontage for commercial. Yes. So along the street here is patios and commercial in here, here, and here, and then commercial exactly as you've drawn it here. That will work. The one other thing I would say to you is you're going to be told that you can't do it because the fire trucks can't get there. The garbage trucks can't get there. The snow plows can't get there. All you have to do is you tell Chris Calabogie, is that who you're using now?
Yep.
And you tell the planners in Rockland and the mayor and the councilors, well, wait a second. I'm going to take you somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
One of my favorite places on earth.
It's beautiful. So,
and this is the type of feel that I spent a lot of time in Quebec City, and this is.
I did too. It's beautiful. So, in Quebec City, how many streets in the old town? You try and drive a fire truck down here, a big snowplow, one of those. You can't. It's impossible. So they have these little tiny snowplows that go there.
Okay.
The little ones.
Yeah, yeah.
They look like ski-doos on wheels, or ski-doos with a plow, and they plow these streets, and they remove the snow. If you went to Quebec City, the View of Quebec, and you said, "Oh, well, listen, modern planning rules require us to have streets that are 20 meters wide, and then double-loaded parking aisles and 6-meter planning buffers. So we have to destroy half of the old downtown." You would get people shooting you.
Yeah.
You couldn't remove a brick from old Quebec before the Quebecers would be friggin' burning you at the stake.
Yeah, yeah. You wouldn't make it far.
You would, I mean, and what a so I don't give a rat's behind what the fucking planning rules are. I don't. I don't. I don't care if it's only 1.7. You go and measure. You should do this. You should go just get a map of old Quebec and just take a piece. Oh, to hell with it. We're going to do it right now. Uh, shit. It won't take long. I'm sorry. Do you want to go on with some other stuff?
No. This is good. Let's riff on this.
Because we'll do it right now. We'll have it on tape. And by the way, I spent a lot of time in Quebec City as a young man. I got laid there when I was 15. So you can imagine, I think very highly of it.
Fond memories.
On the plains of Abraham.
Oh, wow. Romantic.
It was beautiful. I mean, she was a real pretty girl from New Orleans.
Jeez.
Oh, she was cute. All right, this is the old town, right?
Yeah.
All right, so give me the dimensions of, are we in the old town here? Yeah, give me the dimensions of the Blair Walk give me one of the dimensions there. You've got it on your slide deck.
It's the dimensions of the lot.
Yeah.
200 by 130.
These are feet?
Yes.
All right, I just want to make sure I'm in the right part of the town. I think I am.
It's essentially an acre lot. It's 1.2 acres.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that. Yeah, okay, this will do. It's not quite where I wanted to go, but it doesn't matter. All right. All right, let's go back to the map. Oh, perfect. We go to the satellite. All right, so give me the dimension again, the depth.
200.
All right, so we'll go from here, measure distance, to here. That's not quite 200. So that's about 200 there, okay?
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I screwed up. Not quite. Oh, geez. Well, that's too far. All right, so that's about 200 feet. Now, what's the other dimension of the width?
130.
130. So 130 would be, okay, so we were at 60, 130 is about.
Sorry, no, it's 250 by 130. My bad, Bruce.
Oh, Christ, you're hopeless. Okay, clear measurement. All right, so 250 deep, right? So divide 250, because I have to do it in meters. 250 divided by 250 divided by 3.3 equals about 80 meters. Well, that's quite a lot. All right, so we're going to go 80 meters in this direction. Oh, shoot. Okay, we're not quite 80 meters. Wow, that's big. There's 80 meters. Look at that. Look at what you've got in there. Okay, and then what was the dimension the other way?
130.
So that's about 43 meters. So we're gonna go, that's about here, I guess. So it was, oh, 470. Yeah, so basically, I think we're looking at a block like this. You with me on that?
Yep.
And look at what you've got in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, it would be nice to have it a bit wider, and that's why I'm not convinced that this lot will work for Blair Walk.
Well, you might, you'll have to work on it. Let's go back in here. But you see what I'm doing? To compare it to Quebec City would be very useful. Let's go back in here. So do you have the dimensions here somewhere?
Yeah, it's in one of the first slides.
Yeah, I think it is. No, up here a little bit further.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, you've done it here too. So you've done it in feet though, right? So yeah. So the width again was how much? Did I lose you, Brad? was my fault. All right. So the width looks a little bigger than you told me, but anyway, whatever. Let's go back in here and look at this again. So you've got 750 feet, something like that here.
So go to slide 6.
Slide 6. Okay, oh, here we are. Okay, so what is the width here? Oh, so that's 130 feet. So what is the width of your each one of those rows?
They would be, well, they could be whatever we want. I hadn't gotten into. They need to be about 20 wide.
Yeah, they're going to have to be a little deeper than that. A typical townhouse has to be kind of 30 feet deep, all right? So what I'm saying is that if you
So 20 by 30.
Yeah, probably something like that makes sense. So let's just fool around with this. All right, crop that. I'm going to share my other screen with you. So what I think I'm going to resize it just to make it a little bigger. So what I think we're talking about is, I'll do it in yellow. I use this width here. What we're talking about is something that's about 30 feet this way, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
there
wouldn't be enough room.
That's 30 feet here, correct?
Yes.
And so you would end up with, sort of like that.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's nothing.
But then we wouldn't have room for parking or anything like that.
No, we're not finished yet. So we'll just assume for the moment that we do something like this. You're just going to have a different view of it. And I don't care about parking. To hell with that anyway. But what if you did something like, like that? And, this is your walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down here, let's just paint it. So this is Blair Walk here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And according to my thinking, it wraps here and goes here too, right?
Yep.
And then we've got commercial. I'm talking about commercial below the residential would be like this, correct?
Yes.
And then we'd have commercial here as well, comme ça, right? Like that.
Yep.
And residential above the whole area, including at the front. And
Yep.
what you would need to do is, I think you would shift it over and you would end up bringing in your cars, over here. And you would park back here.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yep.
To hell with that. If you want to park, go in the back.
True.
I think this would work because you have enough depth here to do your buildings and to have your Blair Walk. And your Blair Walk, in fact, would be, and this is the residential over here, right? Residential over here and
Mhm.
residential over here. So one residential would face the street. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. One residential area would face, just obviously nature. And Blair Walk would be like this, comes out. And in fact, you might end up with Blair Walk, doing a little bit of this too, right? You just wrap the whole building. Not over here because it's residential, and not over here because it's residential. But so you have this walk in here. You've got the commercial. You've got it probably will work.
I wonder how many towns we could get on each of those.
More than you think, but we can sort of figure it out. And don't forget, when it comes to parking, you're providing the absolute minimum. Because what I would want, is there any on-street parking allowed here?
No.
Okay. So we're going to ask the town to do what they did on Center Point.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the Center Point, what I showed you? So
Yeah.
I'll go back to a brush and I'm going to put it in green. And we're going to say we've got on-street parking here. Why not? Slow the traffic down. What do we build cities for anyway?
Yeah.
Do we build it for cars or do we build it for people? Allow on-street parking here. So I'm going to put P for parking here. So it'll work, and park more parking here, okay?
Mhm.
Because you got to have some parking, because people are lazy in Canada. We don't like walking. Some of my daughters will drive 2 blocks in the winter.
Jeez.
It's
Well,
true.
especially in a place like Rockland too, where it's technically
You've
like
got to have parking, but on-street parking. And listen, if they would do it in Nepean in the 1980s, surely we can do it in Rockland in the 2020s.
Yep. Well, I can see the city wanting something like this because it's a bit of an attraction.
Not a bit of an attraction. This would be fantastic for Rockland. It would be a city center. And of course, you're going to have some playland elements too, correct?
Sorry?
Playland,
Like the outdoor activities?
correct.
Yes.
Just saving this, I'll send it to you. This magnificent drawing of ours.
Because at the end of the day, the amount of townhomes we can get in there will dictate a lot on whether this is feasible and whether that makes financial sense.
Well, we would have a pretty good idea. This again was about 250 feet. This back here is only going to be 50 feet. This up here is only going to be 20 feet. So you've lost out of the 250, you've got 180 feet here. So you've got 180 divided by 20, and you can do 18, by the way.
Okay.
So
Because I'd like to do them tall. Like,
yeah. So you can have 10 townhouses here and 10 here. You get 20. Is that enough?
yep.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's all you need. You know, I think you'll get, I'll put it in yellow.
And what we were talking about too is those the main levels could actually be studio apartments. So you could get 10 towns.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
20,
Absolutely.
20 studios. So you could end up with 40 units.
With 10 studios. Yeah, you'd end up with 40 units.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this will work. And the thing is that you know, I like Chris Delcozy, as you know, and I respect him a lot. But you know, like most architects and architectural technologists and planners, they're very rule bound.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is show them. Just what you should do is add. You know, you should add some of those photos of Quebec City, because it's very important to have a local example. All right. So
Yeah.
Stop sharing this, and I'm going to go back to the other screen.
And 20 by 30, that gives you a footprint of about.
And no, make it 18 by 30.
So 18.
By 30.
That gives you a square footage of each floor at 540.
Yep. I mean, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring Quebec City into Rockland. What the hell? That means that you're ending up with. Let's see if I can go back and I just grab a couple of pictures and I'll send this to you. You know, I mean, Rockland is a nice place. It is. And let's see if I can in winter. Let's see if I can find something, because I know they're going to give you shit for the you know, the fire truck and the, you know. But I mean, look at this. Isn't that beautiful?
Gorgeous. That's exactly what. Yeah, like that is what I want to put in Rockland.
So I'm going to add this to your slide deck, and I'll call it Old Town Quebec. And I'm not kidding. If you were to change one friggin' block of the old town, they would hang you.
I know we're on time, but I'm thinking out loud about if it's 20 by 30, that's 600 square feet per floor. So
Yeah.
The main floor, half of that is the studio. The other half is the small commercial space on the outside.
No, I don't think so. I think the studio is going below grade. It's going to be below that. The commercial needs to be the entire ground floor.
Okay.
Except for the entrance. So what you're going to do basically is you're going to come into the home. It's one level up.
Yeah.
And one level down.
Yeah.
And so if it's 18 by 30 or 20 by 30, but 18 by 30, it gives you 540 square foot little shops. And if you need two of them, you just, you just put two together, you get 1,000 square feet. But, you remember the Edgar Cafe story?
Yeah.
It only seats 19 people, and she makes $650,000 a year in sales there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You just use the outdoor space that you have.
Correct. So I want to send you back your slide deck if I can.
Yes, please. Thank you, Bruce.
Well, I didn't really do much, but I was writing to Blair Capital. That's not going to work. That slide deck. See if I can. But it is a fantastic idea. But you, as a developer, and as one of my top disciples, I have to put it on. I have to put it on Dropbox because it's too big now. I've added too many images. Hang on, I'll go to Dropbox. You have to be unreasonable and say, well, what do you mean we can't build it? They built it in Quebec City. They built it in Copenhagen. They built it in Stockholm. What did they built it in Old Town London, in the city, London. And you're saying to me that people 800 years ago could do things we can't do today? Well, fuck you very much. Right? We can do it.
I'll bring you along for that meeting with city council.
Well, I'm I can't go and meet with too many people, but I can zoom in, and I won't swear at people, but I will. I did this for Jay Patry in Kingston when we were struggling with the city of Kingston, the planners and the politicians. I just dropped in by Zoom, and I made the points that I think we wanted to make, and you remember that we were having that argument about toggle space. And we won that argument. It took a little while to get them on side, but we did. Do you remember that argument about toggle space in Kingston? Did I tell you about that?
No, I don't think I know. I've heard you talk about toggle space, but I don't think I've heard.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it in a second. Just putting this, I don't want to forget, so I'm going to put this in. All right, Brad Cartier. What a great name Cartier is. Is it related to Jacques?
Not that I know of.
Hard to know though, eh?
I know we're bumping up against time too. I don't want to keep you too long.
That's all right. I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
We always seem to have, but we always run out of time. It's probably my fault. But you had a hell of an agenda.
Yes. It'll be good for next month.
A very good agenda. Okay, it's uploading now. All right, so let's see. We didn't do anything on the Gigaplex Duo. We did talk about Paul Murphy. We did talk about Blair Walk. We didn't talk about the Hammond Golf Course. Shit.
No, we can do that. We can do that next time. There's nothing pressing on that right now.
Okay. Is there anything pressing though that we should address before we go?
The only thing is the Gigaplex Duo is now potentially 2 additional units.
That's incredible.
But it requires official plan amendments, but the city's supportive of it.
Okay.
So
well, you're going through a rezoning anyway, are you not?
Exactly.
So I think that's probably okay.
So the only decision now is, do we go back to the drawing board and change slightly the 6 to an 8, or do we just start building the 6 envelope because that fits within the current zoning and we can get building permits for that? That's the discussion we're having now.
Yeah, what do your partners think?
I honestly, we're meeting tomorrow morning to discuss. I have my own opinion, but I haven't.
Your opinion?
My opinion is that I would not like to go back to the drawing board, at least on the first one. I would like to start building. And we can get building permits under the current zoning because if you remember, the zoning allows for the duplex plus ADUs.
Yep.
Except we're blowing that up to be essentially a 6-plex.
Yep.
So whether we build one or the other, it's the same structure, envelope, everything. So we could actually get building permits and start building while we're going for the official plan amendment. If we do the 8 unit, we can't do that.
Then I concur with you. We've said it before, you and I, that that real estate development is the art of the practical, the art of the possible, not the art of the perfect.
Yeah.
So when I go into a project, I look at what is the highest best use, and I don't really care what the zoning rules allow for. I say what makes sense from the point of view of the community, of the ownership, you know, and the city. And then I try and sell that. At the end of the day, if I lose a battle, I'm okay with that. You know, I won't win all the battles. I never have. You never will. But, you know, I think I told you the story of how, you know, Bill Malhotra and Claridge went and asked for a ridiculous height limit on Preston. They never dreamed they would get it. They asked for 55 stories, and I think they got like 52. They were hoping maybe for 40.
Yeah.
You know, so I do think you should go with your plan.
Well,
And
we can build the 8 on the second lot, and
exactly.
we could build a coach house in the back to get the 6 unit up to a 7 unit without any issues. So it's
Isn't that
still
thing,
not.
so that is obviously what you should do, because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to get trapped into an endless loop of planning and zoning, and then something bad happens and you never actually build the damn thing anyway.
Exactly. I'd like to get shovels in the ground, and you know, at the end of the day, if all things go to hell, then we still have a building there. It's 4 units. It's not 6 or 6 and not 8.
No, it makes perfect sense. And remember, we talked about you want to get a project finished and done and move on, because if you're trying to get a perfect project and it takes you an extra 2 years every time you do something, you'll be my age and saying, well, next year it's going to be better, but it won't be. And so I do think that's exactly what you should do. I was going to, just before we knock off, there was one thing I was just about to tell you, and then I got distracted with the Dropbox thing.
The toggle space in Kingston.
Yeah, the argument we had, thank you, in Kingston, was about, you know, whether, and I'm probably going to have this argument in Belleville too. If you think about the Belleville building, it's got an 1,100 square foot retail space on this side of the building as you face it from the street, and then it's got, I think, about 4,000 square feet over here. So this is the old China Gate, and I'm going to try to organize a trip to Belleville for our group. It might not be a very big group, but we'll try and get there. So you've got, you know, 4,000 square feet here, which is the old China Gate restaurant, and about 1,100 square feet here. And I did talk to the planner, his name is Andrew Chan, in Belleville, and I said, you know, I told him what toggle space was. He didn't have any idea, well, nor would he, because I made up the term. But I said, you know, what I think the real demand is for somebody who, maybe she's a hairdresser from Toronto. She runs a very successful hairdressing salon and spa. She's fed up with the friggin' traffic in Toronto and the COVID thing. She's moving to Belleville. A lot of people are moving from Toronto to Belleville. And she wants to have a nice, you know, I don't know if you know the Belleville building, I don't know what the ceiling height is at grade. It's at least 12 feet.
Oh, wow.
It might be 14, but it's at least 12. So you could have a very nice apartment in the back, would be about 600 square feet, and it would be on 2 levels. I mean, it would have a mezzanine in it, right? You know, a little bit of loft space. You can have your bed up here and you can live underneath, or vice versa, I suppose. And so she can have a loft apartment, and then when she wants to go to work, open the door, and out to the front you go, and you have a beautiful little spa there, and a place where you can go get a manicure, a facial, get your hair cut or colored or whatever. And you know, he said, "Ooh, I've never heard of anybody talking about that." But this is not like, again, I mean, you don't think that there were pubs in England 800 years ago where the innkeeper lived in the back and worked in the front? Of course they were. So we're not talking about, you know, something that's never been tried before. We're talking about things that worked really well for people for hundreds of years. And then we got this ridiculous idea that oh, well, we have to separate everything out. So you know, you've heard me say it before. I'm furious. You know, Brad has to get up in the morning, you know, get in his car, drive an hour and a half on the Queensway to get downtown, and work in one of those disgusting buildings that are 40-story high with fluorescent lights and bad air, and get sick in the elevator, and on and on and on. Then at the end of the friggin' day, he has to get back in his car and drive an hour and a half through traffic to get back to Rockland and go through the split. He gets home and he's tired and he's mad, and like, what the hell are we doing?
Sounds awful.
Well, that's, you know, how would you like to leave your home in the morning and go downtown Ottawa before the pandemic? And did you see the article that Shopify is vacating its downtown office?
Yep.
I mean,
Who can blame them?
so the time is right. I mean, I'm glad I lived long enough to see it. I'm serious. So, you know, the discussions that we're having here, Brad, is that over the next 40 years, possibly 50 or even 60 years, because a lot of people will work because they want to into their 80s and 90s, and I think you should. Maybe not at the same pace you're working at now, but keep going, and don't take no for an answer for people who have given us cities that are sick.
Yep.
We're making. Do you know in California that the average commute time is before the pandemic hit was approaching 2 hours one way?
That's atrocious. That is the worst thing ever imaginable.
So you know, because people can't afford to live in San Francisco, you can't buy a place in San Francisco. I mean, if you're a wealthy tech guy, you can certainly no problem. You know, you're worth a few billions, or now we're talking about Apple being worth $2 trillion. So yes, there are people at Apple who could afford to pay $8,000 a month US for a 2-bedroom apartment, or buy a house in downtown San Francisco for $3, $4, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $80 million. But for the average worker, the firefighter, you know, the nurse, I mean, so she has to live, you know, San Francisco, not in Oakland anymore. They have to go further out than that. It's 2.5 hours each way to go to her job in San Francisco to help people who are rich get through the pandemic. It's atrocious what we're doing. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm really trying to encourage you. I think Blair Walk is a fantastic idea, and don't take no for an answer.
I won't, Bruce.
Okay. All right, so I think the Gigaplex duo, I think you've got the right thing going. We'll talk about the Hammond Golf Course. I have some really neat stuff I want to show you. Put that on the list for next time.
Yep.
And I want to share with you another model. I'm not going to do it today. Put it on the list for next time. A client of mine, a coaching client of mine in Alberta, his name is Tim Reed. I don't think I've ever mentioned Tim to you before.
No.
He runs Little Steps Academy, and it's a model that has blown up for him. I'm not going to go into any detail. Just Tim Reed, Little Steps Academy. It is an incredible model. I mean, it's his model, not mine, and it's really, really good.
Okay.
And I will talk to you about it. So on the toggle space thing, this will be the last thing we do today. On the toggle space thing in Kingston, Jay hates commercial. Jay Patry, the developer, he's got a 1,500 unit brownfield site that he's doing, 1,500 residential units, and he wants zero commercial, or almost zero. The city wants 70,000 square feet of commercial. And the reason they want the commercial is because, you know, property taxes are 3 or 4 times higher for commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to the city planners and to the mayor, I said, look, if Jay puts 70,000 square feet of retail space in at grade, and it's empty, how does that help the city? It bankrupt Jay, but it won't help the city. The only people who will go in there will be payday loans,
Yeah.
and girly clubs and pawn shops, and the rest will be vacant. That's going to be horrible for the city. Why do you insist on that? Well, you know, commercial at grade. And I said, let's go with the toggle space. So, you know, let's ask Jay to build at grade 12 feet instead of, you know, 10 or 9 or 8. Let's go 12 feet, which is a commercial thing. And let's let the market decide. So if somebody wants to run a law office or cafe, take all that space at grade, make it commercial, perfect. But if somebody just, you know, an artist wants to live there and have a loft apartment at grade and live at grade, let him do that, or her to do that. If somebody wants to do a little bit of both, have an apartment here and some kind of an office or storefront here, you know, maybe a young lawyer, she lives here and she runs her street legal practice in front. That's fine. Let the market decide. It toggles back and forth, all residential, all commercial. Yeah, but we won't get our property taxes. I said, okay, all right. So invent a new property tax category. Invent something somewhere between all commercial, which is, you know, sort of 3 or 4 times more than residential, and residential. So the space down here will be a little bit more expensive for property taxes. You created, oh, well, we couldn't do that. Yes, you can. You have different rates for commercial, for industrial, for residential. So you create another one, call it something else, call it toggle space. This is toggle space and this is the mill rate, and it's different from the other mill rates. What's preventing you from doing that? So it took us about 3 or 4 months of endlessly stupid debate. And I think we've won that because, you know, it makes no sense to have 70,000 square feet of empty commercial space. Jay will go broke.
Yep.
And it won't help the city. And I think they've now agreed to it. So they're going to create, they'll call it something better than toggle space. I don't know. We'll come up with a better name. And we have to come up with a better name than maybe Gigaplex, studio apartment, lock-off suite, micro suite, nano suite. What's that?
I'm working on it.
Work on it. But you know, again, some of that space, you know, should be, you know, your space. I'm talking about Blair Walk. If somebody wanted to live there, they could. It doesn't have to be commercial. You know, it could be a little studio apartment of 600 square feet or 550 square feet or whatever it is, or it could be a little Edgar Cafe. But it could. I would want the Blair Walk space, again, to protect you and your partners. I would want it to be able to toggle back and forth. So that's important. I want you to remember that when you're talking to them. You say, look, it will be commercial space, but if we're having trouble renting it and somebody wants to, you know, run a studio out of there, you know, an artist live there, or for that matter, a real estate investment coach like me, you know, or just have a loft apartment. You're going to build probably 12-foot ceiling heights, so it could be commercial, but it could be an awesome little loft apartment.
Yep, I agree.
Okay? But you're not going to guarantee that it's commercial, but you're also not going to guarantee it's residential. It could toggle back and forth. Maybe for the next 5 years, half of it's residential and half of it's commercial. If the commercial's doing well, it'll just eat the rest of it.
Yep.
All right. Brad, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. As always, that was amazing.
It was really fun for me too. And I'm going to stop the recording and I'll download it to my computer. You'll see it in the morning.
Okay, sounds good.